So a couple of weeks later, my brother, who is a philosopher, he said, Bob, I was thinking about your philosophy class. I said, yeah? He says, I think I know why they got offended. I said, why is that? He said, well, let us suppose that you wake up one morning and you're up in the bathroom shaving and you look out the window and down in the side yard of your house is a brand new Corvette. And you think, that's my house, my yard? Ooh, new Corvette. And so you get ready to go to work, you go down in there, it's got the keys in it and everything. You think, ooh, this is nice. And so you go to work, come back, it's still there. And well, of course, at nighttime, you can't just leave the keys in it, so you got to lock it up, right? And then Saturday afternoon, you got to mow the lawn. You can't just leave it sitting in the grass, so you move it over the driveway. And after a while, your car ought to be used, so you kind of maybe drive it to the store every now and then. And pretty soon, you start driving to work. And after a while, you just incorporate it into your life. This is my Corvette. So one afternoon, you got some friends over, and you're having flipping burgers on the grill in the backyard. And one of your friends said, Bob, that is a really good-looking Corvette. You know, that's a nice car you got there. And you say, yeah, you'll never believe where that car came from. So really? No, I just looked out the window and there it was. I mean, just there it was. And one of your friends says, I think I know where it came from. Really? Where? I think that there were these molecules and they were floating along and they kind of bumped into each and bang, there's a Corvette. And the guy said, no, that's not what happened. That car used to be a Volkswagen. And over a long period of time, many, many years, long time, millions of years, no long time, it became a BMW, and then after a BMW, then it became a Corvette. Well, could be, who knows? And then somebody else says, no, I think I know that car. I know who bought it. I know who owns it. I know who lost it. I know who's looking for it. I know who's coming to get it. Tell me about these molecules over here again. That's the only idea you didn't want to hear. Everything else is fine. Oh, just be so tolerant and all. But if you say that there is a God who knows and loves, and someday we will stand before, suddenly this tolerance folk, the ones that go around bragging about tolerance all over their bumper stickers, they'll flat run you over with it. And so first of all, let's begin. One day, the Lord said to Adam, that's a pretty good early starting place. He said, I want you to have fellowship. And so I'm going to ask one little thing. That is, see the tree there? Don't eat of the tree. Because the day that you choose to do it your way, then we'll have a separation here. And then I'll know that you want to do it your way and not my way, and we can't get along like that. And so immediately you think, well, that's kind of a little thing. You know, well, why would I do that? Well, see, you can only have one way of doing things, either your way or God's. Suppose you run the Brinks operation here, and you hire a fella, and you say, here's what you do, simple little job. You go to the Federal Reserve, you pick up these new bills, and they're all wrapped, and they've got a seal on them, and they're numbered. And what you do is you go to the various banks, and you pick up the used money, it's all sealed, and you make that transfer. That's all you do all day long. It's nice, but there's one little restriction. You can't break the seal on the money. You understand? Understand? Okay. Then after a little while, you say, I think I'll just take a little bit. I mean, it's not like I'm going to murder anybody. I mean, I'm not a really bad person or anything. No, I just take a little. No, that's not the point. The point is either you're going to break the seals when you feel like it or you're not. And if you choose to do it your way, you're not going to advance in this company, and I can't trust you. You would never be supervisor. You'll never be president. You'll never be anything because you decide the rules. And so therefore, God said, that's all we want to do. I have a way that works. If you go your way, then it's not. And so man did it, and God comes down, and he says, oh, boy, we are in a pickle now. Because he goes to look for them, he can't find them. Anybody ever found a broken flower pot and can't find your 4-year-old? And so they're hiding. And finally he finds them, and he discusses the situation. He said, all right, we're in a pickle. He said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a second Adam. And he will live a perfect life. And just as you chose to go your own way, if you will put trust in this second Adam, then I will impute his righteousness to you, and I will make you as perfect as he is. But here's how you do that. I'm going to take a lamb, and he made an altar, and he killed the lamb and shed the blood. And he said, if you will do that, then that will show your willfulness from your heart that you choose to do what I say, and I will impute you to righteousness. And so it's a simple little story, and so he did it. And so that's the story of the Old Testament over and over and over. One time they were out and they were being attacked by snakes. And God said to Moses, he said, I want you to put a snake on a pole so that all they have to do is but look to the pole and the snake will follow. They'll be protected. Why did he do that? Well, first of all, the Xerox machines were not good in those days. And so he wanted to give them an explanation. And he said, well, why the pole? Because God knew, through prophecy, he understood then that there was going to be a time when the perfect lamb would be put up and he would but look to him, they would be saved. Not in works of righteousness that they had done. You couldn't work your way through it. But if you would but look to him, he would impute the righteousness. One day they were in Egypt and the death angel was coming through and he says, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take that lamb, firstborn male, and I want you to take the blood of the lamb and I want you to put it on the doorpost and the lintel. And so that when the death angel comes through, it will pass over your home. Now you say, I think that's a little primitive. That's kind of silly. I mean, we've invented geometry. We built these pyramids and things, and this is really kind of silly. I mean, it's been a couple thousand years since Adam and all, and I don't think I want to do that. That's fine. You got your choice. But when the death angel comes, if you didn't do what God did, the firstborn male died. But for those that did what he did, the death angel passed over. So he told the story over and over until finally, one day, John the Baptist is standing there, and a fellow walks up, and he says, behold the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world. And so he lived a perfect, sinless life. He was raised up. He was killed. And that blood sacrifice that had been made for so many times in the temple, they would go in and they had a veil. It was 90 feet wide and 40 feet high and 3.5 feet thick. And the high priest would go in and would sprinkle the blood on the mercy seat as in response to what God told them to do. So when God would look at the blood as their act of contrition, he would forgive their sins. And when the Christ died on the cross, the veil was torn in two from top to bottom. A person could see directly in, and there were no more sacrifices because the sacrifice had been made. And he said, a new testament I give in my blood. This do in remembrance of me. And now we have the willful choice to choose to follow what he did. And when we do that, then we are born into his family. And so we've seen how that the prophecies worked out. And you look back at those folks, you say, oh, those poor children of Israel. I mean, my goodness, God kept telling them over and over and over. But they said, but it's been such a long time. Finally, when Christ came, you think, well, now any idiot ought to see this. I mean, here he is. I mean, my goodness, look, he makes the lame walk and he has the blind see. And can't people see that? Well, or for those that thereafter, you can still see the miracles. Why would we not choose to follow him? Because we have to make a choice. And man chooses, number one. Number two is that God sees the end from the beginning. And when he does that, what is currently happening to us might not make a whole lot of sense, where you and I are caught at this moment. But we have to believe that he knows who we are